So guys, Destiny Rising just dropped a banger of a trailer called The Threats from Beyond. This is just a short little teaser, but there is a whole load of information packed into this short 1 minute and 40-second trailer. So we're going to be diving into everything that you might have missed within this teaser, starting off with the giant mech that is apparently also chilling just by Haven. I'm guessing this is Haven due to the Tree of Silver Wings that's present. This is the main tree that you can see within the Haven social space, and I'm guessing that this is Haven. I don't know if it is. I feel like Haven, at least in-game in Destiny Rising, is a little bit further away from the tree, but I might be mistaken there. Either way, I never noticed that there was a mech here, but apparently there is, which looks really cool. Next, we see probably our best look yet at the speaker character, or who I'm guessing is the speaker within this game. I think she is, but she's a lot younger and way different looking to the speaker that we meet in Destiny 1. She's obviously followed by a whole load of freely flying ghosts, and then we meet Radagast and Wolf, and for the first time we're seeing Radagast's helmet. This is obviously going to be the thing that he has on his head when he becomes a playable character. Now I will say this helmet design does look a little bit basic compared to all the other stuff going on with Radagast, but when it's actually on his head and maybe it's better lit, it might look a little bit better, and we aren't seeing the full design there, but either way, first look at his helmet, which is pretty cool. But now we get into the juicy stuff as we see the Iron Temple and Lord Saladin with his axe, and we can see exiting out of the Iron Temple a whole load of what I'm guessing to be either Iron Lords or Iron Wolves, the ones that I am able to see at the moment. We obviously have Saladin there in the middle, followed by Jolda on the right. Then I believe on the left we have Scory, and then at the far back we have the Warlock and Hunter characters that were assigned to Lady Jolda within her story quest. If you played through those, you probably remember their names. I think it was Rhea, and I can't remember the Hunter's name, but I believe it was like another wrestler's name, if I remember correctly. Either way, other than that, we can't really make out much of the other characters there. But I know there's a Titan right there, and the others I can't really see much of. They might be other Iron Lords, or they might be other, like, Wolf-style characters, or Iron Wolves, I should say, similar to these two right here. Either way, very excited to learn more about the Iron Lords, and fingers crossed we get another Iron Lord added as a playable character sometime soon. Moving along then, we then jump to outer space. This is where the first raid takes place, which looks really cool. Very Fallen themed, and then we have Yumiko here who does a little voiceover as she fights off a whole load of Fallen. Nothing really to note here, just looks really cool visually. Then we jump over to Estella, who is fighting a whole load of Fallen, seemingly within the same spot that takes place during her main story quest. Once again, nothing really to note here, just really cool usage of her different abilities and weapons. Then we jump into the Hive section that we only see within one of the very beginning story missions where you play as like Cora, and the two wizards that we see here I believe are Crota's sisters, the two that you fight right before the Oryx encounter in the King's Fall raid. I do believe we fought one of them maybe within the story mission itself here in Rising, but these two do look very similar to the daughters of Oryx that we fight within the King's Fall raid, and this is obviously the Crota Oversoul, which is a main mechanic there within the Crota's End raid inside of Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. Then we jump into a whole load of weird sequences. There's this orb that then splits into like 4 different sections, and a flower that grows. This is very reminiscent to the like flashback sequences or just things that were thrown into our mind at the beginning of the Final Shape expansion when we first entered the Traveler. So I don't know if this is the Traveler speaking to us within this trailer, but either way, it kind of gives me that same imagery there of just random things being shown to us. And then we also get a better look there at the Tree of Silver Wings as it kind of glows and grows, I'm guessing. Don't know what's happening there, but it does look very cool, and we get a whole deeper look at its actual roots and the light flowing within it, and then it expanding outward. And then we move over back to Yumiko fighting some Fallen and Estella once again, and then we end off with some Saladin gameplay of him using his axe, which I believe is going to be his relic of choice, which is really cool. And also recently we did get the axe as an actual exotic weapon inside of Destiny 2, which is also just really cool to note. Then we jump into a Vex themed area with Wolf. I'm guessing that this is still in the Red Sea Rift, nothing really to note there. I believe we can see Saladin fighting alongside him, which is also really cool. And then we jump into Radagast. Now we do see him use a Titan Thunder Crash like ability where it jumps into the air and slams down with arc power, so that once again confirms that Radagast will be a playable arc damage type unit. Now we do see him a lot with his sword, so I don't know if the sword itself will be his actual relic, or if he just fully goes in and just slams the ground like a Thunder Crash Titan. Either way, confirming once again that he is an arc damage type character once he actually officially gets added into the game. Then we jump into a whole load of just stills here of different enemy types. We first start off here with a Hive Thrall, then jump into a Vex Goblin, then we have a Hive Wizard, then we have a Vex Harpy, and then we end off with a very interesting shot of what many people are assuming to be Savathun, potentially. Let me just actually Google what Savathun looks like in Destiny 2, because I believe that she actually has 3 eyes, rather than just 1, or 2 even. Yeah, so in Destiny 2, she actually has 3 glowing eyes, similar to Oryx and Xivu Arath. But this Hive only has 2, but then the 3rd spot there is just blank. So this could actually end up being Crota, but I do also think that he also had 3, yes, he also had 3 glowing eyes. So I don't know what it means for a Hive to only have 2 eyes and not 3 if they aren't like a higher up unit. I'm guessing that they're kind of a lower ranking unit, but considering that they're like thrown here at the end and actually look pretty detailed, I don't know if this is a brand new Hive character or somebody that we'll meet later on in the story. Obviously, we were introduced at the beginning of the story to Crota, who we did hear voicing from, but I don't know if we're actually going to be dealing with Crota anytime soon, due to the whole like story implications of, I know this is a different timeline, but we deal with Crota in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 a lot later in the timeline compared to where we are in Destiny Rising. Plus, I feel like we would have to go through the whole Eris storyline first before we get to Crota, and I believe in the storyline as well, we are before Eris actually goes down into the moon with her fire team and deals with Crota himself. So this might, in my opinion, just be a completely new Hive unit, but we're going to have to wait and see. Moving along then from that, we then get a snapshot of a ghost, which isn't our ghost Sev, because Sev's like inner ghost bit here next to the eye is actually gold, whereas this is a silver ghost with like a golden shell. I first thought this was Sagira potentially, but the shell is not as unique as Sagira's, just similar color-wise and a completely different design. This is more like a basic ghost of a yellow paint job, so I don't know whose ghost this could actually end up being. And then we end off the trailer here with us inside of a jump ship, which we do later see is actually one that was apparently given to us by the Awoken, as it's the same kind of designed ship that the Queen's Wrath actually end up flying. Now, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I'm seeing a very large lack of actual spaceships being shown in Destiny Rising. Whenever we've been traveling to different destinations, like when we first go to Jiangxi Metro, we don't fly with our own ship, we have to tag along inside of a falling ketch to sneak in, and we don't use our ships to travel to the different destinations on Earth. So it seems like we're going to be getting our first jump ship here, potentially from the Awoken of the Reef. We did just meet the Queen of the Reef, Mara Sov, within Hellhest's story quest, so I don't know if we're going to be joining up with the Reef and getting some resources from those guys and stealing or potentially borrowing some jump ships from them to then go and explore different planets, which would be really, really cool. But then we also have just a snapshot here of the moon, and if you've played Destiny before, you know there's a whole Hive storyline going on there with the moon. It's obviously where the Hive primarily are, and it's where the Crota's End raid takes place. Now, once again, am I expecting the Crota's End raid to be added into Destiny Rising anytime soon? No, because I feel like, once again, story-wise, we are many, many years out from the events of Crota's End raid taking place. But I feel like what could happen is that we meet Eris probably before she becomes all infected with her Hive gunk and has to wear the like thing over her eyes and has 3 Hive eyes. We might meet a more pure or just straight up human form of Eris before all that happens, which would be really, really cool. And then we just learn about a more unique Hive threat, like the one that has only 2 eyes that we meet a little bit earlier in the trailer. I feel like we're going to be dealing with them first before we run into any of the Hive pantheon that we know of, be it Crota, Oryx, Savathun, or Xivu Arath. And then just one final thing that I want to bring to your attention with the moon here is that there is no crack visible on its surface. Now, in the Destiny 2 lore and Destiny 1 lore, we know that Crota actually went and cracked the moon during the Great Disaster. So, seeing that the moon here has no crack means that we could potentially witness the Great Disaster actually happen within Destiny Rising, which would be a really, really cool event to see, similar to events like Twilight Gap and all that kind of stuff. So if that ends up happening, that would be really, really cool to see. But either way, this trailer has me very, very interested, and the trailer does end with "Therein lies the path to salvation." Now, salvation very much tied to the Witness, and I do actually think that the Witness is the one that is potentially talking to us throughout this entire trailer, as we know that the Witness is a combination of a whole load of different voices, so this could have just been the Witness talking to us through the darkness. As we know, if you played during some of the Season of the Haunted stuff, the darkness is able to kind of speak with other people's voices, even like different living characters. So inside of the Presage mission, there are like voice lines from like Cade and other main characters there that are still alive as the darkness talks to us. I don't know if I'm 100% correct on that, if it's the darkness or just the Witness or just weird stuff, but either way, salvation being mentioned does tie into the Witness, and I do personally feel like the Witness was the one talking to us throughout this entire trailer. Now, once again, the Witness being shown in this game, he might show up, but we're not going to be dealing with him anytime soon because we've only dealt with a fallen walker at this point as one of the main story bosses, and I believe that next up we're meant to be following on from the story that ended in the Red Sea Rift with an Ahamkara, so also could have been an Ahamkara talking to us instead of the Witness. But with salvation being mentioned, once again, the Witness seems like the one who is talking to us generally, although it could have been an Ahamkara. I don't really know, I'm just throwing ideas at the wall here and seeing what sticks. Be sure to leave yours down in the comments down below if you have an idea as to who has been talking to us throughout this trailer. But either way, this trailer has me insanely excited and very interested to see what Destiny Rising adds next to the game. Like I've said, I feel like we're going to be continuing the story on from Red Sea Rift and dealing with the Ahamkara there potentially. Maybe that becomes a raid boss. I have no idea, but that would be really, really cool to see. Also, add more Iron Lords into the game, bro. As soon as Felwinter becomes a playable character, I'm immediately pulling for that guy because he is absolutely cool looking as hell within this game. Either way though, that is it for my breakdown of this trailer. If you want to watch it for yourself, I'll obviously have links down in the description. But as always, if you guys enjoyed, if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, I would very much appreciate it. And with that all said, I'll see you all in the next one.